under join era, fourth unit, hydraulic jump. Okay. I think you might have studied in open channel flow at your undergrad, various types of flows, uniform, non-uniform, steady, unsteady. And there is a one type of flow is called rapid varied flow. What is a rapid varied flow? A sudden change of depth occur at a particular point of a canal, a channel. And the change from one depth to another takes place in a distance of very short length. Okay. The change in depth occur in a short distance in a channel. Okay. So that type of flow is called a rapid varied flow. Okay. So hydraulic jump is a classical example of steady rapid varied flow with a broken flow profile. Okay. So hydraulic jump is a rapid varied flow, steady rapid varied flow. So the hydraulic jump definition for the hydraulic jump is as the sudden and turbulent passage of water from supercritical state to subcritical state. Okay. When uh, supercritical flow changes to subcritical flow, a hydraulic jump is created. Okay. That is called hydraulic jump. Okay. The flow in hydraulic jump is accomplished by the formation of extremely turbulent rollers, and there is a considerable dissipation of energy. So when the hydraulic jump occur, so there is a lot of turbulence, turbulent rollers occur in the flow. Okay. So that causes a dissipation of the energy. So that is one of the advantage of the hydraulic jump. We can use that jump to create the, to destroy the energy of the power of the water. Okay, where below the spillway. So in order to safeguard the toe of the spillway or the soil beneath the spillway, so we create a hydraulic jump, and thereby we reduce the energy because it attains lot of potential energy when it water jet falls from such a far height. Okay, so lot of potential energy it acquired when it hit the ground. Okay, a hydraulic jump is created. So there is some arrangement you have to make to create the hydraulic jump, right? So when hydraulic jump is created, and then automatically some amount of potential energy is dissipated. So therefore, there is a less danger to the structure. Okay, so this is hydraulic jump. Okay, what is hydraulic jump? Is a steady, rapid, varied flow. Okay, so how definition of the hydraulic jump is that when a water from supercritical state to subcritical state. Okay, it passed from passage of water from supercritical state to subcritical state. The hydraulic jump is created. Okay, so a hydraulic jump will form when water moving at a supercritical velocity in a relatively shallow stream strike water having a relatively a large depth and supercritical velocity, a subcritical velocity. Okay, so experimental evidence suggests that the flow changes from supercritical state to subcritical state can occur very abruptly through phenomena known as hydraulic jump. So just again, I'm repeating that hydraulic jump. Okay, definition. The change in flow regime takes place over a relatively short reach of channel. So it is a local phenomena. Therefore, boundary friction is relatively small and in many cases insignificant, right? Suppose if you want to analyze the hydraulic jump, right? So that, as I said earlier, so it in a short length of there is an abrupt change of water depth. Okay, because this is a very short length, so we can ignore the this frictional resistance. Okay, boundary friction is relatively small, and in many cases it is insignificant, right? So we'll see it later, how you can derive some equations, right? So this is a graphical representation of a hydraulic jump. See, that is a y1 is the uh, uh, pre-depth and y2 is the post-depth. Okay. So before jump occur, the depth of water is y1. After jump occur, the depth of water is y2, and Lj is the length of the jump. Okay. So where it occurs generally, hydraulic jump occurs frequently in a canal below a regulating sluice, gates, at the foot of spillway, or at the place where steep channel bottom slope suddenly changes to a flat slope. Okay. Here the pressure distribution is non-hydrostatic due to huge curvature of flow. All right. So what are the various applications of the hydraulic jump? So the dissipation of energy of flow downstream of hydraulic structure, such as dams, spillways, wides. So one of the uh, best example of, advantage of hydraulic jump is it dissipate the energy of flow. Okay, so that is one advantage, and another one is the reduction of uplift pressure under the hydraulic structure by raising the water depth on the apron of the structure, right? So so this jump, hydraulic jump create a greater depth of water, right? So if depth is more, then the weight of the water is obviously more. So the direction of that weight, self weight of the water will be in downward direction. Okay. So uplift pressure is in upward direction. So this uplift pressure can be effectively counterbalanced by this weight of the water. Okay. So that is another advantage. Okay. The maintenance of high water levels in the channel of water distribution purpose, it maintain the high water level in water distribution purpose. So the mixing of chemicals for water purification and other purposes, where this hydraulic jump is also useful. Okay, mixing of chemicals and for any water purification of. Okay, these are the some of the advantages of the hydraulic jump, right? So hydraulic jump are classified in different ways. Okay, there are types of hydraulic jump. So as I said, when the hydraulic jump is created, when a supercritical flow changes to a subcritical flow, hydraulic jump is created. Okay. So therefore, what is the main criteria to classify the hydraulic jump is the Froude number. Okay. So Froude number here, if Froude number is between 1 to 1.7, so the water surface undulations, and jump is called an undular jump. So it looks like this in a graph. Okay, and so if the Froude number is in between 1 to 1.7, okay, then this jump is called undular jump. Okay, in this case the water surface shows undulations. Okay, so like this in figure, right? And the second one, weak jump. Weak jump is if the Froude number is in between 1.7 to 2.5. The jump form is called a weak jump. Okay, as the velocity throughout is fairly uniform, and only a small amount of energy is dissipated. Okay, and in earlier case, I think there is no energy is dissipated. In the weak jump, a very small amount of energy is dissipated. So in this case, a series of small rollers form on the jump surface, but the downstream water surface remains quite smooth. Okay. So this is a weak jump, right? And the next one is the oscillating jump. If the Froude number between 2.5 to 4.5, so the jump is known as oscillating jump. So in this case, the entire jet of water oscillated back and forth from the bottom to the surface and back again. These oscillations are very common in canals and can travel to a considerable distance, damaging the earth banks. Okay, so this is another type of jump, oscillating jump, and steady jump. So if Froude number is between 4.5 to 9, so then it is called steady jump. So in this case, the energy dissipation ranges from 45 to 70%. So 45 to 70% of the energy is reduced when you can create this type of jump, steady jump. So another one is the strong jump, right? So this is if Froude number is more than 9, then it is called a strong jump. So in this case, a rough surface prevails, which continue downstream for a long distance. The jump action is quite rough, but is effective since the energy dissipation may reach 85%. So almost we can reduce 85% of the incoming energy, okay, by creating this type of strong jump. Analysis of hydraulic jump, okay. Due to appreciable energy loss associated with the hydraulic jump, the application of energy equation to the channel section before and after the jump does not provide any adequate means of analysis. Okay, then now I am trying to uh, uh, do some analysis on hydraulic jump. So while analyzing the hydraulic jump, the following assumptions are made. Uh, the portion of the hydraulic jump is considered as the control volume, and it is assumed that the before and after the jump formation, the flow is uniform and the pressure distribution hydrostatic. This is one assumption. The length of jump is small so that the loss due to the friction on the channel floor are also small. This is another assumption. The channel floor is horizontal or the slope is so gentle that the weight component of the water mass comprising the jump is negligibly small. So this is another example, all right? So these are the three examples. Let us see some derivations, right? Uh, so this, y1 dash is, let us say, this is the pre-jump depth, and y2 is the, so this is y1, you can say, y2 is the post-jump depth, right? And now this is my control volume. I have taken only the length of the jump from the starting of the jump and to end of the jump. So this is the length of the jump. So this I have taken as a control volume. So this is the weight of the water, downward direction. So this is the friction. So this is the hydrostatic pressure on this phase P1, and this is another hydrostatic pressure on phase P2. Okay. Now you apply momentum equation. Momentum equation is P1 minus P2. So the pressure in in this direction, net pressure you can say, in this direction minus pressure in this direction is equal to mass into velocity, a change in mass into velocity. Okay, so this is the rho q by g, v2 minus v1. Okay, this is the momentum equation. Just you can refer if you have any doubt on this equation, momentum equation. Okay, so that is the p2 p1 minus p2 is equal to gamma q by z, v2 minus v1. Right? So the net force in this direction of flow is given by F. F is equal to P1 minus P2. That is the net force, where P1 is the hydrostatic force at section 1, 1, and P2 is the total hydrostatic force at section 2, 2. Okay. So what is P1 hydrostatic force? So that is the cross area into y1 dash. From the y1 dash is what? So from the center of the area, okay, from the surface of water to the center of the area. So that is y1 dash. Okay. uh, y1 dash is not the pre-jump depth. Y1 dash is the where the center of pressure acts. Okay, if you remember in fluid mechanics, forces on a curved surface and a plate is submerged into the water. Okay, so that A1 is the area. So where the center of pressure occur is from that point to the top surface is y1 dash, right? So that gamma is unit weight of the water. Similarly for P2, gamma A2 Y2 dash. So substitute these two values and you will have this equation, and then you can rewrite that equation like this. Okay. So what is this? Specific force before jump is equal to specific force after the jump. Okay. So the energy dissipated in the hydraulic jump is given by uh, this equation, right? Delta E. So what is this force, right? E1 is what? E1 is what is total energy line? Total energy line. How do you get the total energy line? Depth of water and above velocity head v square by 2g, right? So v square by 2g y1 plus v square by 2g, right? V square by 2g, v can be written as q by a. Okay, so that's why it is a q square by a1 square. Okay, that is, this is the uh, total energy line before jump, and this is the total energy line after the jump. Okay, so this difference is what? So that difference is nothing but the loss of energy, right? Delta A is equal to E1 minus E2, right? So in terms of Froude number can be written as velocity by square root of gy, right? If velocity can be written as a small q by y, okay. So if you consider y is the depth of water and unit width of the water is 1, y into 1 is area, right? So v can be written as q by y into 1, okay. So therefore it is a q by square root of gy square, right? So, and if you substitute this in previous equations, we get y1 is equal to y2 by 2 square root of 1 plus 8f2 square minus 1. Okay. So what is this? This is the energy loss due to jump. This is the energy loss due to jump, right? So this is the energy loss due to jump is equal to, as I said, uh, this is I mean a total energy line, energy before hydraulic jump occurred. This is the total energy line after the jump occurred. And so if you substitute, and I mean uh, so instead of v, you can write q by y, okay. V1 q by y1, and instead of v2 you can write q by y2, okay. And if you substitute those values and simplify, you will get this equation, okay. And this is delta E is equal to E1 minus E2 is equal to y2 minus y1 whole cube by 4 y1 y2, okay. So this is a change, energy loss is equal to y2 is what? Y2, y1, y2 are the conjugative depths. Y2 is the post hydraulic jump depth, and y1 is the pre hydraulic jump depth. Okay, so y2 minus y1 whole cube by 4 y1 y2, right? Uh, so the ratio, okay, the ratio delta E by E1 is known as the relative loss. Okay, relative loss. So that can be calculated. So we know delta E is equal to y2 minus y1 all cube by 4 y1 y2 divided by E1 is equal to y1 plus v1 square by 2z. Okay, uh, and then if you can simplify this one, you will get the this equation, right? 1 minute. So the ratio of specific energy after jump and before jump is defined as the efficiency of the jump, right? It can be shown that the efficiency is E2 by E1, okay? into, if you multiply this in 101, you will get in percentage, right? And if you want to calculate the power lost, is P is equal to gamma Q into delta E in kilowatts. Okay, if you want to calculate how much power was lost because of the jump, so unit weight of the water into discharge into energy loss. Okay, that is E2 minus E1 minus E2. So if you multiply these three terms, you will get the power lost in terms of kilowatts. Uh, so this is the height of the jump. So height of the jump can be calculated. Uh, y2 minus y1, obviously. So y2 is the post jump depth minus y1 is the pre jump depth. So this is the height of the jump. Expressing each terms as a ratio with respect to the initial specific energy. Okay. So this can be where hj by e1 is a relative height, is the relative height. Y1 by E1 is the relative initial depth. Similarly, Y2 by E1 is the relative sequential depth. Okay. So all these ratios can shown be dimensionless functions of F1. Okay. So energy dissipators. Uh, so different types of energy dissipators may be used along with spillway, all alone or in combination of more than one. So depending upon the energy to be dissipated on erosion control required downstream of the dam. Broadly, the energy dissipators are classified under two categories. One is stilling basin or bucket type, and each of these are further subcategorized as given below. So in the last class, I told you that three parts in a chute spillway. One is the inlet part, length of the crest can be calculated using a discharge formula, and then channel section is designed as per the similar to the design of a open channel canal using Mannis equation. Okay, that is uh, economical section and is the permissible velocity. There are two methods are there. And the last section, last part is what is the outlet. Outlet is what, where the hydraulic jump is created, the energy is dissipated. Okay, so the outlet is nothing but what is that stilling basin. Okay, what how to design the stilling basin. Okay, so the design of the stilling basin is depending upon the hydraulic jump. Okay, what is the tailwater, what is the depending upon the depth of tailwater and uh, post jump height. Okay, the because these two parameters on length of the jump, okay, and amount, how much amount is dissipating. Okay, so all these parameters are required to design a stilling basin or bucket types energy dissipator. So energy dissipators are two types. One is a stilling basin or bucket type. Okay, so we will see all those things. So stilling basin type energy dissipator, they may fundamentally be divided into two types. Again, the stilling basin. One is the horizontal apparent type. Okay, so this is the horizontal apparent type. Okay, so the water comes from the spillway. Okay, here jump is created. Okay, so we will provide a apparent. This is a stilling basin, right? So this is the end seal. Okay, this is the hydraulic jump. So the stilling basin is a horizontal apparent type. This is the one, and another one is the sloping apparent type. Okay, right. Here it is a sloping apparent. We have a end seal here, and hydraulic jump is created. Okay, so these two are what? Which type? Stilling basin type. In stilling basin, horizontal apparent type and sloping apparent type. Right. Right. Design of hydraulic jump stilling basin type. Hydraulic jump is a sudden turbulent transition uh, of supercritical force to subcritical flow. So this phenomena, which involves loss of energy, is utilized at the bottom of the spillway as an energy dissipator by providing a floor for the hydraulic jump to take place. The amount of energy dissipated in a jump increased with the rise in fluid number of the supercritical flow. Now we'll see. So this diagram. So this is the spillway. Okay, here hydraulic jump is created. So this is a, stilling basin. Okay, y1 is the pre-jump depth and y2 is the post-jump depth, and lj is the length of the jump, right? And what is el is energy loss. Okay, so total energy here it is this. Before jump is this is the total energy line. So after jump this is the total energy line. So the difference between these two is the energy loss. Okay, and these two equations we have already seen. So relation between consecutive depths. So the relation between y1 y2. So this is one equation, and we know how to calculate the fluid number. Fluid number is before jump v1 by square root of gy1. Okay, after jump f2, fluid number is v2 square root of gy2, and this is the equation, the relation between y1 and y2. Okay, and let us see. Energy loss can be calculated using this one, y2 minus y1 whole cube by 4y1 y2. Okay, if you have a tail water, okay, tail water is there even before jump occurs. Okay, the tail water depth, right? The tail water depth, and there is a relation between a river flow. So there is a relation between the discharge and the depth in the river. Okay, so that is called, sorry. Okay, uh, see, this is the how to calculate the length of hydraulic jump. Okay, so if you see a graph between L1 Lj by y1 and fluid number, so there is a lot of drastic change if the fluid number is less than 5. Okay, see, look at the curve, and after 5, after fluid number f is equal to 5, so it's almost constant. The length of the jump is almost constant. Okay, so here, yes. uh, so this is a typically stage discharge curve for a river, stage discharge curve for a river, right? uh, the stage discharge curve, as I said, uh, that depending upon the discharge, the stage changes, right? If there is a more discharge, water level will be more in the river. If the less discharge, relatively less depth in a river. Okay, so this curve you have to that is available with you, because that depends upon the cross section of the river, right? This curve is developed. A stage, it means that suppose if you know the stage in a river, then you can calculate the discharge at a particular cross section. Okay, otherwise reverse case also, if you know the incoming discharge into a river at a particular cross section is, let us say, 500 meter cube per second, then the possible depth in the water can also be calculated, right? So if you have this curve, stage, water level or discharge, then this can be can be used to either you can predict the stage in a river, or you can calculate the discharge in a river. Got my point? If this a particular cross section, let us say at a cross section Rajahmundry, right? So there is a possibility that if the Rajahmundry, the stage at a bridge is, let us say, 48 meter is there. Okay, so then we can calculate what is the discharge at particular cross section. 48, draw a horizontal line and then vertical line. So it is 200 meter cube per second water is passing at a particular cross section, that you can tell. The reverse case, suppose say in Polavaram dam, so they have released a 500 meter cube per second. Okay, so if that much water is released at that point, so at therefore then we can predict the depth of water level at the Godavari, right? Draw a vertical line and then horizontal line, it could be 50 meter. Okay, so then since say this is the depth of water in the actual river downstream of the Stilling Basin is Y2, is determined from the river flow observation that have been plotted as a stage discharge curve. Okay, and if you subtract the Stilling Basin apron level from the stage or water level corresponding to the total discharge passing through the spillway, gives the tail water depth. Okay, so you are using this stage discharge curve to calculate the tail water depth near the downstream end, Y2 star. Okay, since the stage discharge curve gives indications about the tail water of the spillway, it is called tail water rating curve. I think hope you got my point. So what I am trying to explain you is that I want to calculate the uh, tail water depth for a given discharge. Okay, I want to calculate the tail water depth for a given discharge. Okay, so that for that given discharge, what is the tail water depth Y2 star? So that I can calculate if we have this curve. Okay, got my point, I think, right? So once I got a, let us say 48 meter for a 300 meter cube per second, the tail water depth is 48 meter. So this is with respect to the mean sea level. And for this mean sea level, if you subtract the basin apron, level of the basin apron, then I will get the depth. Okay, what is this is I got this value, this level I got. Okay, for a given discharge, I want to calculate this depth. And if you subtract this level from this level, I will get this depth. Okay, so that is the statement. That is the statement. Okay, so then I will get the Y2 star. Okay, and this is since the stage discharge curves indication about the tail water of the spillway. So it is called the tail water rating curve, usually expressed as the water depth Y2 star. So versus unit discharge, and then we can draw a curve for different discharges. For different discharges, you will get different Y2 dash. Okay, for different discharges, you will get the Y2 dash, right? So then your curve will be look like this. Okay, got my point, I think, right? Similarly, we have a jump rating curve. Jump rating curve is for different Q values, you will have different Y2 value. Okay, so if you want to calculate Y2 is equal to Y1 by 2 minus 1 plus square root of 1 plus 8 F2 square, right? So Y1 we know, that is the pre-jump depth. Pre-jump depth we know, okay? And we can calculate the, or otherwise you can use this equation, okay? You can use this equation, okay? Y1 we know, pre-jump depth. Y2 we want to calculate. What is the post-jump depth? F1 can also be calculated. F1 is what? F1 is equal to V1 square, V1 by square root of GY1. V1 can be written as Q by Y1. Okay, Q by Y1, right? So Y1 we know, for different values of Q, we will calculate Y2. Okay, for different values of Q, we will calculate Y2. Okay, and you draw this graph. So this is called jump rating curve. Okay, so here we have two types of curves. One is a tailwater curve, and another one is the jump rating curve. Okay, so what is tailwater curve? So this is the tailwater depth versus discharge, a particular discharge. And this is what y2 is the post jump depth. After jump depth occur, what is the depth of water? Okay, so that is versus Q. Okay, for a particular Q, say for particular Q, so let us say for a particular Q means 10 meter cube per second. For 10 meter cube per second, what is y2 star? For 10 meter per cube second, what is the y2? So in general, these will not be same. Y2 star and Y2. Y2 star is what? Tailwater depth, and Y2 is what? Post jump depth. Okay. If you see in textbook, they give a different nomenclature. They may say a D1, 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 D or Y dash or Y1, something like that. Okay. But remember, this is what? This is the tailwater depth. Uh, this is what? This is the post jump depth, right? So this is the tailwater rating curve, and is the jump rating curves. Okay, as I said, uh, I mean for a particular discharge, let us say 100 meter cube per second. For the discharge, what is the tailwater depth? For that discharge, what is the post jump depth? Right. So this never be, I mean, rarely be coincide these two values. Sometimes y2 is more than y2 star. Sometimes y2 is less than y2 star is less than y2. Okay. Now we will see. So at the same time using the formula, so this I explained already. Okay. So so as I said, this in general, JRC, jump rating curve, and TRC, that is a tail rating curve, would rarely coincide. So if plotted on the same graph, okay, so you will have this type. Okay, here you can say it is almost coincide. Okay, this is one case one. So what is our objective is, as I said, what is our objective? We have to design the stilling basin. Okay, what type of basin we have to provide? Okay, so that is depending upon the tail rating curve and jump rating curve, right? The case one is if tail rating curve and jump rating curve both are coincide, okay, as shown in this figure, almost coincide. So this is the case. Okay, this is very ideal case, ideal condition. Okay, since the post jump depth required for the formation of hydraulic jump is just available at the channel, the hydraulic jump will be formed at the toe of the spillway. Okay, so protective measures. So if this is the case, so what we have to do? The horizontal apron provided, horizontal apron. Okay, not sloping apron. Horizontal apron is provided on the riverbed downstream from the toe of the spillway would suffice. The length of the apron should be equal to the length of the jump. Okay, corresponding to the maximum discharge over the spillway. Okay, for this case, what you have to do? A horizontal apron is provided. Okay, what should be the length of the apron? It is equal to the length of the jump. Okay, so for that only we need TRC and JRC, tail rating curves and jump rating curves. So how do you calculate TRC? I explain you. Okay, a discharge stage relation. From that you will get the TRC curve. Jump rating curves, how do you calculate? Is a equation is there, the relation between y2, y1 and f1. So there, from that equation you will get the post jump depth y2, and then we can draw a graph. Okay, that is called JRC, right? So if these two are almost coincident, then the stilling basin is horizontal apron we have to provide uh, at the toe of the spillway. The length of the apron should be equal to the length of the jump. Okay, hope you got my point here, right? The next one. So the second case where JRC is above the TRC. Okay, jump rating curve is above the tail rating curves. So the TRC may lie completely below the JRC for all discharges, right? So in which case the jump will be located away from the toe of the spillway. Okay, so the jump where it will occur away from the spillway, resulting in possible erosion of the riverbed. So for this case, what is the remedial? So it is apparent that the tailwater depth as provided by the natural river is not sufficiently for the jump to form. So therefore, what is this meaning? That the tailwater depth is not enough to create a jump. Okay, so this may be overcome by providing a stilling basin apron that is depressed below the average river bed level. Okay, or by providing a sill or baffle of sufficient height at the end of the spillway. Okay, so what is this case? Here, the tail rating curve is below the jump rating curve. It means that the tail water depth is not enough to create a jump. Okay, so therefore, the remedial is how they increase the tail water by uh, providing a stilling basin apron that is depressed below the average river bed level. That is the one method, and another method is providing a sill or baffle of the sufficient height at the end of the spillway. I will show the figure. So this is right. So this is one is you can depress the floor. Horizontal apron you can provide here, depressed floor and horizontal apron. So therefore you can you can increase the depth of the tailwater. Another one is at the end, instead of depressing, you can provide a end sill or baffle at the toe of the basin. So therefore some water you can maintain here. Okay, so that is enough to create a hydraulic jump. Okay, or sometimes it is also called secondary dam. Okay, so these are the two methods when TRC is below the JRC. The third one, where TRC is completely above the JRC. Okay, what is it means that the jump would be located so close to the spillway to make it submerged, which may not dissipate the energy completely. So the tail water depth is too much. So therefore, what will happen? The jump completely submerged into the tail water, and therefore less energy is dissipated. Okay. So therefore, what we have to do for remedial, since this situation result in submergence of the jump, it is necessary to raise the floor in order to form a clear jump. In practice, it is done by providing an inclined apron of the stilling basin. Right? See, this is the diagram. So here, a uh, inclined apron is provided here, so that it is raised. Okay, so therefore the jump will be created in the spillway just before the sill only the jump is created. Okay, so this is the one case example. Next case is So for lower discharge, you look at this diagram. For lower discharge, the tail rating curve is above the jump rating curve. Okay. For sorry. For the lower discharge, the jump rating curve is above the TRC. For higher discharge, the TRC is above the JRC. Okay. In another case, for discharge, for lower discharge, TRC is above the JRC. For higher discharge, TRC is below the JRC. So this is another case. So for this one, so what is for first case? At low discharge, insufficient tailwater will be there, while at higher discharge, the jump will be drowned. So this situation may taken care by providing an inclined floor in the upper portion of the stilling basin, okay, and providing either a depressed floor in the lower portion of the basin, or provide a baffle at the end of the basin. So I will show the figure. So second case, in this case, sloping uprand may be provided, which lies partly above and partly below the river bed, so that the jump will form on the higher slope at low discharge and on the lower slope at the higher discharge, right? So this is the diagram. It's not there. Okay, the diagram is missed, I think. Okay, I will show you later. So bucket type energy dissipators. Okay, so those previous examples are stilling basins. Bucket type energy dissipator, solid roller bucket, slotted roller bucket, and sky jump bucket. Okay, so general, the hydraulic behavior of bucket type energy dissipator depends upon the dissipation of energy. Interaction of two rollers formed, one in the bucket rolling anti-clockwise, and other downstream of the bucket rolling clockwise. What we are doing here is a roller is created in hydraulic jump by providing some arrangements. Okay, so some are anti-clockwise rollers will be created, as well as clockwise rollers also be created. So by doing this one, so energy will be dissipated. Okay, and second type is that interaction of the jet of water shooting out from the bucket lip, so with the surrounding air and its impact on the channel bed at downstream. So I will show the figure, then it will be clear to you. Okay, again, roller bucket type energy dissipated. One is solid roller bucket and slotted roller bucket. Okay, so this is the solid roller bucket. This is the solid roller bucket, and this is the slotted roller bucket. Okay, so this is the solid roller bucket. Slotted means slots are there here. Okay, and this is the trajectory or sky jump type of basin. Okay, and if you see this figure, all these things. So this is the overall. This diagram will be uh, easy to understand. 1 minute. Hello. Hello. Good morning. So look at here. This is a solid roller bucket. So a lot of rollers are created here, clockwise and anti-clockwise. Okay. So this is a slotted type, and here it is a trajectory roller bucket. So this jet will be just far away from the uh, toe of the dam. Okay. So these are the uh, These are the what, energy dissipators, right? Uh, if you have any questions, you can ask. Hello.